watching Zone Television.
Well, the year 2012 was the first annual year for the 250cc four-stroke. 2012 was basically a passing of the guard or the torch from the Moto3 bikes, two-stroke 125cc bikes, to these bikes you're seeing here. Now, Moto3 is probably the hottest in the race series right now only because of the passing of the guard from the old two-strokes to the new four-strokes. Now, there's been a lot of dissension with MotoGP fans with respect to phasing out of all of the two-stroke engines. The Moto3 class was the final phase of that. This has taken place over several years, as pretty much all of the race bikes used to be two-stroke bikes, but are now all four-stroke bikes. Another little factoid about the Moto3 bikes is that they're virtually identical to the 125cc bikes that they replaced. These Moto3 bikes are about 7/10 the size of the chassis or the frames of the Moto2 and the MotoGP bikes. The regulations for Moto3 demand that these bikes weigh less than 200 pounds. Now, other manufacturers are pitted to get involved in the 250cc sport bike class. And when this happens, expect to see some really exciting machines hitting the marketplace. Currently, you have the 250 Ninja, which doesn't compete in MotoGP. You have the Honda CBR 250R. Now, what's interesting about the CBR 250R is that the bike was introduced on the cusp of the two-strokes being phased out and the four-stroke 250cc being brought in. Word has it that Yamaha, KTM, and I believe Eric Buell Racing are going to be introducing 250cc single-cylinder sport bikes into the market next year, which is really exciting. The other 250cc sport bikes that are available in the market right now are the GT 250R from Hyosung, the Ninja 300 from Kawasaki. Then there are a couple of fringe manufacturers like Megelli and Benneche, neither of which are competing in MotoGP. Now, we mentioned the Honda CBR 250R, which has very close ties to the Moto3 bike, more so than any of the other quarter-liter bikes in its class. I'm inclined to think that that's not by coincidence. It appears to be a strategic maneuver by Honda to get people interested in racing and onto these bikes. Now, even though the CBR doesn't share any of the primary components of the Moto3 bikes, the DNA is definitely there. I think what we're witnessing now is a renaissance of the small sport bike class. The 250cc class is basically a manifestation of really what brought people into racing in the first place, and just into riding, really. One could say that it was small bikes like these Honda CB160s that really made racing accessible. Now that the 250s are finally here, I think we've got some interesting racing to look forward to. All I can say is we're probably going to see some very interesting 250s make their way to the street in the not too distant future.
And I gotta tell you, I mean, I really can't say enough good about this bike.